They said it couldn't be done, but boy, we have a big warehouse. Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and we are ranking the top 10 tracks from Air Supply. Eric Hansen's here and Dave Lubin. Let's do it. We want to hear from you.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are doing a ranking. Well, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to rank our top 10 favorite tracks from, I was about ready to say April Wine. We've already done that. We were just talking April Wine before that. Not April Wine, but Air Supply. And I know you're going, whoa, Grant. I know. But we're going to do it. Who's talking, Air Supply? Nobody. So what the hell? Let's just do it. Have some fun. Now, I can say from a personal matter, I'm not the biggest Air Supply fan, but I will mention this as I did see the band last year on the 80s cruise, and they were phenomenal. So, I think why not talk some Air Supply? I don't care. Whatever. Let's just talk about it. I mean, if you like ballads, this is the act for you. Anyway. Before we get started, I want to welcome tonight's panelists. We've got Dave Lubin and Eric Hansen here tonight. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing well.
So this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go, it's not the traditional way that we do it on the live Contrarian show where we go 3, 3, and 4. We're going to go 3, 3, 3, and 1, and we're just going to go around. So like I said, we're talking Air Supply, formed in Melbourne in 1975. Of course, they gained international fame with their harmonies, beautiful emotional lyrics, ballads. Their peak, though, came in the early 80s with albums like Lost in Love. That was in 1980. The One That You Love in 1981. Now and Forever, 1982. They produced many hits, and probably a lot of those hits you're going to see here tonight. Anyway, so if you don't know anything about Air Supply, go out and check it out. All right, gentlemen, let's get started. So we're going to go with your first three, and I'm going to go with Eric and then go to Dave and then myself. And we're just going to keep a loose discussion like we always do here in the warehouse. And we will also keep it very clean. And that's the way we operate here. Just a mess over here in the warehouse. Anyway. Eric, what's your first, your 10, 9, and 8?
10, 9, and 8 here. All right. So I'm going to start off with the album, The One That You Love, and the song Keeping the Love Alive. This was written by Richard Supa, who's worked with Aerosmith and the Rascals. It's a great deep cut off their, it's probably one of their best albums. Good message about standing the test of time and do what you can to see it through with your significant other. A sign of a good song where there's a punch or quality meaning in the tune, and this duo were masters of their craft with that underrated song here.
100%.
From these guys here.
Yeah.
So that's my first one. Second one from the album Now and Forever, 1982. Even the Nights Are Better. Number 1 on the Billboard Adult Contemporary, went to number 5 in the Hot 100. Honestly, another great melody and arrangement. Russell Hitchcock reminds me at times of Dennis DeYoung from Styx, especially when he does those, well, like most of their songs here are, that slower ballad type of songs. The guy just has a great set of pipes, man. Air Supply found their niche, timeless romantic love songs. It's hard to top what they did. I've always said these guys were the 80s version of Bread. And, and as far as romantic love songs,
but you're talking like the singles.
Yo, sure. Yeah.
Because, all those David Gates tracks, all ballads,
Sure. Yeah. But as opposed to these guys, Bread can be a little bit more rocking. And I use that term in quotes. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I just have to talk since I did that show before, Bread. When you think of Bread, all you think are those David Gates ballads.
Yes.
But that's not what Bread really was about.
Right.
They were a rock band but they had those ballads that totally stuck out and were hits. When you look at Air Supply, and I totally see your point.
Yeah,
they're mostly ballads on everything.
and and
they're not a rock band,
Right, and it was probably more specific to their romantic love stuff. These guys. I would almost put like the stylistics into that conversation too, with that how they crafted their. It's because it's all about love is like the central theme in a lot of their lyrics.
And you know what I was just thinking?
Yeah,
that we had bread in the. I'm sorry, but it just popped into my monkey brain. You had Bread doing this type of stuff in the early 70s. Then you had these guys doing it. And then you had more Chicago. Because Air Supply's heyday was in the early 80s.
Yes.
But in the later 80s, you had Chicago with their singles doing basically the same damn thing. And I know whether you like that era of Chicago or not, I'm not saying, but Chicago kind of, I don't want to say carried the torch, but kind of. Maybe. I don't know.
And Air Supply were definitely more soft rock than what Chicago was in the 80s. And I love that era of Chicago. I mean, it doesn't compare to the Terry Kath era.
Right. I get it.
Yeah, but again, the Bread thing to me, it's like, it's if and geez, now all their Bread songs are going to escape me, but those songs always kind of reminded me of like their Air Supply's radio hits.
We didn't
great
know
songwriters. David Gates can write a song. Wow.
We didn't know we were going to come on here and talk Bread.
Bread, yeah.
So it's all fine.
We're
and
breaking
dandy.
bread tonight.
Right. But
so my last one here, I'm going to go to. We just talked about love songs, but I'm going to go to the 1986 album Hearts in Motion for the song Heart and Soul. So the album only peaked at 84 on the US charts. And if there was ever a pop rock or upbeat straight ahead rock song in their catalog for Air Supply, it's this one. Penned by both Hitchcock and Russell. Again, this is Air Supply rocking out. The background vocals in the chorus, little cheesy the way when he says the heart and soul, but I like it. It's peppy. It shows a different side of the band, which honestly may be the only one of its kind in their entire catalog. So,
yeah,
Heart and Soul. It's a good song. So,
yeah. Did I even have that on mine? God, I was listening to this, and I'm going, well, that's a great song. That's a great song. Well, that's a great song. You know what? My ranking, I know we're going to go to Dave, but I'm sure the whole panel could agree with this, that your ranking could probably, my top two are probably my top two, but my ranking could probably change tomorrow. Anyway, was that 3?
That was my 3. Yep.
Okay. See? I can't keep track.
I'm keeping track.
All right. Dave, let's hear your 10, 9, and 8.
Okay, so I got to first of all say a few things here. First of all, Eric has never been to my house, and yet I'm wondering, did he come over and somehow steal my list? Because when you're going to hear when you're going to hear my first 3, I got 2 that are exactly the same, including a deep track, which is that I thought, hey, I found a deep track. These guys aren't going to talk about that, and Eric took my deep track, but. Just going to start a little bit in terms of Bread. In terms of, and then he also stole my thunder because I've always called Air Supply the 80s version of Bread. Because to me, they are the 80s version of Bread.
See, Grant?
Well, hey, I never thought about it, but now that you mention it, now I can see it.
Yeah, I've often wanted you to do a Bread versus Air Supply, Grant's Rock Warehouse show, and we
compare their hits to each other. Yeah.
How would we do that though? Wait a minute. That's not a bad idea.
Bad idea, Dave.
I'm trying to let me think about that a bit.
Yeah.
I'll write that down. You continue on. I don't want to lose that thought. All right, go ahead.
So yeah, I'm going to share just a couple of thoughts, anecdotes. The first thing is Bread for me. They were the ultimate guilty pleasure. I was definitely, in my teens, I was definitely like, hey, I only listen to rock music and I only listen to Chom FM in Montreal. And I started hearing Air Supply songs. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I like this. I like this. The end result is I've actually gone to see Air Supply 3 times, and Air Supply is the ultimate date night band to go see, because sure enough, I have seen Air Supply with 3 different women. The first one was when I was a teen, a girl who I pined for. She went with me to that concert because she wanted free tickets and never saw me again. But the other 2 were very significant people. It was wife number 1 and wife number 2. And no, not at the same time, if people are wondering. 2 different my current wife and the wife who I had my son with. Anyway, so always special date nights, or at least 2 out of 3 were. That first one, I think she's forgot me. I'm going to forget her. Okay, there's my anecdote. So my number 10 song was not on your list, Eric. It was 2 Less Lonely People in the World. Reached number 38 on Billboard from the album Now and Forever. It's one of these standard Air Supply sappy, strong vocal songs. And it's got, and you know, Air Supply songs go from just completely depressing and sad to a more upbeat type of love song. And that's what this one is. It's like, aha, I'm lonely and I've met someone. And this one's one of those more upbeat one. And again, it's got all like the nice things you expect an Air Supply tune to have. My number 9, I thought, hey, I have this fantastic deep track, Keeping the Love Alive, but you've pretty much covered it. I think there's wonderful harmonies in that song. Like you said, it was written by Richard Supa, and it's a deep track from the album Lost in Love. Number 8, another one you already said, Even the Nights Are Better. And what surprised me about this one was I didn't realize this was an original song, but when I did my research on it, I found out, no, it was not written by Graham Russell. And but the thing I remember most about this particular song was it's the video that stands out to me the most. It's the one when I think about watching videos at that age, that I probably saw this Air Supply video of Russell Hitchcock walking around the beach more than any other. And it's again this one, another one of those upbeat ballad songs. So that's my 10, 9, and 8, 2 of 3. Grant, are you going to match us or
no? Well, maybe to some degree, but not really. Now, the way how did I whittle this down? Well, like I said, it was very difficult. I'm not the biggest Air Supply fan, but I'll tell you, when I was in middle school, Air Supply was pretty big because, you know, we're talking 78, 79, but the 80s, you know, they really started to kick in. And you really could not escape it. And me being a kid just learning to play guitar and stuff, really not my kind of thing. Now, I saw them like on the 80s cruise, like I said, and I'm listening to these songs and I'm going, good Lord almighty. Are these well-written songs, catchy, melodies, everything is top-notch. So, okay. So I kind of looked into it. Now, my whole thing is, you know, it's got to have harmonies. It's got to have a great, catchy chorus. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is what my number 10 is. And I don't think anybody may have this, but I think this is a great song. 2 Less Lonely People in the World from Now and Forever, 1982. And I do believe that you mentioned that this wasn't written by the band. So this was written by Howard Greenfield and Ken Hirsch. Is it that Ken Hirsch that I'm thinking it is? Is that Ken Hirsch, the mastering engineer? I don't know. Reached number 38 on the charts. Number 4 in the adult contemporary charts. I think it's a wonderful song. Wonderful. It checks every box that I have for Air Supply. Next one I'm going to go with, I'm going to go back. Hey, we're going to go back to another track from 1982. Young Love, that was written by Graham Russell. Very nostalgic ballad, I'd say. Reached number 38 on the US Hot 100. But again, holy crap, can Graham write a song? Even the tracks that, you know, I mentioned that they're outside writers, she's absolutely killer stuff. But I think there's even more killer stuff as I keep going. So anyway, there you go. All right, Eric, you are up.
Yeah, Young Love was it's on the honorable mention.
Okay.
That's a good one. So my next one, I'm gonna go to the Lost in Love album from 1980 for Every Woman in the World. song about finding someone who basically completes you in every way. Are the lyrics schmaltzy and corny? Sure, but for these guys, it works. There are certain soft rock bands.
But Eric, does it make you want to fall in love?
It does.
All right, there you go.
This is their. I'm telling you, it's their niche. They get away with it. I mean, it's as I previously mentioned earlier. Expect nothing less from Air Supply with a song like this. It's a well written song. Grant and Dave, you've already mentioned it, and as most of their songs are well written. So that's my number. What is that? 7. Next one, I am actually going to go from the Ghostbusters, 1984 Ghostbusters movie, for I Can Wait Forever. Great vocal by Russell Hitchcock. The song's melody always kind of reminds me, we mentioned them earlier, of You're the Inspiration by Chicago and Glory of Love by Peter Cetera. It's got that, the song's got that very soundtrack type of song to it. And I always thought this one flew under the radar for these guys. Often we were mentioning, we did the show, the soundtrack, Ghostbusters, little underappreciated soundtrack. So that's my next one, I Can Wait Forever. And then to finish up these next 3 here, I'm going to go with the song from the album, The One That You Love, Here I Am, Just When I Thought I Was Over You. Written by Norman Sleet. A catchy type chorus, but again,
I don't. Norman Shall. I can't pronounce. You know, I'm going to butcher it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, a catchy type chorus, but again, lyrics that are just tailor-made for these guys. When you need to let the tears flow from a breakup, you know, the late great Richard Jeni, comedian, he had a bit on love songs. Radio stations all across America plays nothing but love songs. Here's a song called You'll Never Get Her Back from the album You're Dying in Your Own Puddle of Piss in a welfare hospital. Please go check it out. The guy was brilliant, but he's got a whole bit on love songs. I always think of it when I hear the song, and I probably could have rated Here I Am a little higher, but I think these other ones that are coming I like just a little bit more. But yeah, that's my next 3.
Excellent. Okay, I can't argue with any of those. All right, Dave, what you got?
Okay, actually, I made a mistake before. Keeping the Love Alive is actually from The One That You Love, not from Lost in Love. But the next song is from Lost in Love. It's a song called Chances. Was not a big hit. It was a deeper track. I really like the little instrumental buildup. I've seen 2 of the 3 shows that I think 2 of the 3 shows I saw they performed, or at least 2 of them, maybe all 3 of them. By the way, also I mentioned the final one I saw with my current wife, and that was in Akron, right here. And that was the last show we saw before everything shut down for COVID. I believe that we saw it in, I think, January of that year or February. And then, as we all know, there was no concerts for quite a while. So, but luckily, it was a very memorable one. They because these songs are the way they are. You know, these guys are a bit older, but they still got the chops. And when you're not singing those strong rock songs, you can keep your vocals a little better. And these guys did a great job. So anyway, so Chances would be my number 7. Really nice deep track from that particular album. Number 6, another deep track. It's just one of those songs that was always an earworm for me. It was called I'll Never Get Enough of You. And this one is also from The One That You Love. There are certain people that this song just resonated with me in my mind. And it really has always been one of my favorites. And what was interesting for me is, and I never knew this song was originally performed by Samantha Sang, who did the only song I knew from Samantha Sang, and boy did I know it, was Emotion. Felt like that out. That I remember back in the day, I felt like that song was always on the radio, and it's a beautiful song. She does a beautiful job, but I couldn't name you one other song she sang until this. So I listened to her version. I didn't care for it, but I think Air Supply, they nailed this song. Okay, and then number 5, really popular one. And it's got that, that really cool build up, got a little bit of vocals. And what song am I talking about? Sweet Dreams, which peaked at number 5. This one was written by Graham Russell and it has that haunting melody that goes throughout the song. So that's my number 7, 6, and 5.
Mm.
All right, cool, excellent. Okay, wow, a lot of great choices. Now now it's going to really start to get hard because this could be ranked higher on another day, but it is where it is. So number 7, I'm going to go with "Making Love Out of Nothing at All" from the Greatest Hits in 1983. Now, for a track that was on the Greatest Hits album, that's pretty impressive. And you can totally tell that this is 100% power ballad. I would put it in the power ballad category, written by Jim Steinman. It was a big single, peaked number 2 on the charts. But I think Bonnie Tyler's "Total Eclipse of the Heart," from what I read, caused it not to go all the way. But hey, that was a good. Wasn't "Total Eclipse of the Heart" Jim Steinman too?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Same year. Yeah.
Jesus. I'm just saying, Jim Steinman was all over it. Anyway, if you know Meatloaf, you know Celine Dion. Come on. Even Jim Steinman solo stuff, he's got a trademark tonality that just screams Jim Steinman. But it's a great song. I have to admit, it's very much in that Meatloaf vein, very opera-oriented, so to speak, very showy. But it's a good song. It's a good song. And what can I say? Next one I'm going to go with, "Here I Am When I Thought I Was Over You," which Eric mentioned. Correct, Eric? That's right.
Yep.
From the one that you love, 1981. This reached number 5 in the Hot 100. And you mentioned it was Norman Shallot. Shallot, I think that's it. Shallot sounds right. And I don't really have to mention anything more than Eric mentioned because it's just it's Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah.
All these could be different places on my ranking. All right, so next one after that, I'm just going to go with, God, this is so good. But this is their last chart entry, though, that did anything. "Just As I Am" from Air Supply, 1985. Like I said, last major U.S. chart entry, peaked at number 19 on the Hot 100. This was written by Rob Hagel and Dick Wagner. Now, you know who Dick Wagner is, guitar player, played with Steve Hunter, played Lou Reed. In fact, Dick Wagner, what was he? He was in the band Frost. Look at him. He can write a ballad. Well, he's a good musician, or he was. So anyway, a little bit more rockier than what came before, not by much. But see, by the time we got 1985, the whole popularity of Air Supply they had their moment. Everything's going down. And when we talk a lot about these bands, if they were lucky to be something, they always do that. It's always a up, unless you're like something odd. Usually you have that. It's like a bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we have here. So there you go. "Making Love Out of Nothing at All." "Here I Am," and wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have another one? No. Just As I Am. My list, I didn't number them, so I'm idiot. So there you go. So there's my next 3. All right, Eric, you're up.
Yeah, "Just As I Am." That just missed if we were doing this next week, it's probably in my top 10. That's a real good one from them.
I don't get tired. When I heard all these live, because most of these they play live,
sure.
I'm just going, gee whiz, it's a great song. Yeah. I'm sorry. A good song's a good song, ladies and gentlemen. So,
All right. So my next 3, I'm going to go with the title track from the 1981 album, "The One That You Love." Geez, another number 1 Billboard Hot 100 song. This is back when radio was pleasant to listen to. Both of you guys have referenced that. These guys were on regular rotation.
Damn it, Eric. My daughter would listen to this and she would say, of course, my little daughter likes everything, but she can listen to all that crap that's out now. And this stuff makes the crap now look like it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's funny because I was about to get to that. By the way, the song's the 2-part harmonies are fantastic in this. Yeah. But I've given a little rib to their corny lyrics, and all that. But the fact remains, the lyrics for most of these songs. I got to ask, when was the last time you read or heard lyrics like this that isn't in the country genre. I mean, really, I mean, you flip on the radio. That's why I say in the early 80s, these guys are on the, you can listen to People Are People by Depeche Mode one minute, and Here Comes the One That You Love by Air Supply. It was just like, wow. It's like, it's almost like it's like a lost art. And these guys seemed to be throwing out Picassos, for a few years there in a row. It's crazy. But anyhow, that's my first one. The One That You Love. Next up, arguably, a lot of people will probably put this one at number one from the Lost in Love record, 1980. I'm going to go with All Out of Love, written by Clive Davis, who was an important part of their success, helped a lot of their songwriting, and Graham Russell also helped. This one went to number 2 on the Billboard. I read Russell Hitchcock held the record for the longest note at 16.2 seconds in this song until Freddie Curtsey from the band Sheriff broke it with their song When I'm With You. He did it with 19.4 seconds. Of course, he went on to sing for the band Alias too. Interesting. But again, Russell Hitchcock guy. Another song by them that it could go down as like the ultimate breakup song. Really, a lot of these songs, it's just, they stand the test of time. Just the songwriting is just fantastic as I'm re-listening, because I'm like you, Grant. They're not a band that I've listened to a whole lot, but they're nice to have on the background if you're at work or something. But I just like listening. It's just like, wow, crazy. And my last one for this one, I think Dave picked it from the record, The One That You Love, Sweet Dreams. Yeah, number 4 on adult contemporary, number 5 on the Billboard. Cool that, he mentioned cool spacey beginning before the song kicks in. So underappreciated, and a really good guitar solo in this song too. This has always been one of my favorites. And again, another one that just seems to hold up. It seems like it was written maybe 10, 20 years ago. Geez, we're going on 40 years, guys. So there you go. There's my next 3.
What would DC say? Simmer down, Eric. Simmer down. We don't want to hear that. What's funny, and I've talked about this before, just to go on a tangent, is that, I can play most of these songs. Well, actually, a lot more of the mid-'80s stuff. Well, let's say we played Just As I Am. I would hear that, and I still think that that's current. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But I don't look at it and go, oh, yeah, that was like 80,000 years ago,
Yeah.
But to me, it doesn't really sound all that.
No.
And
timeless.
It's weird. Timeless. All right. Thank you, Eric. David, you are up.
Okay, so the rest of my songs have all been mentioned, so just add a couple more things, just in general. Yeah, you were mentioning, Grant, they really only had 3 albums that were kind of off the chart sellers, but here's the thing. It was the type of music that they could just easily be a cash cow for them the rest of their lives, because as we said, they could take those songs from those 3 albums and then the hits were put on this one, and they can just go and play these concerts. As I said, they played them in 2020. They played them on your 80s cruise. There's always going to be someone who wants to see them, and I mean, and as I mentioned before, because they're the type of songs that don't involve a lot of screaming, yelling. I mean, you have to have good vocals, but they're not things that are going to blow your vocal cords out. So, as they get older, they can still sing the songs and they can still sound good. So I think that's part of the thing of their success. Another thing I think about these songs is that when they come on the radio, I'm always going. I'm always, yeah, I'll listen to that. It sounds good to me. And if you're driving, they're not songs that that they're the. I don't know if let's say if you're edgy or whatever, when they're not going to. They're not going to make you edgier or anything like that. They're as Eric said, it is good background music, but they're also it's cool to listen to the lyrics. The songs are very well written. They're excellently produced, and the musicians are really good on these songs. I mean, they're not complicated rock songs involve guitar solos and all this stuff, but the production on them is perfect. They really are. So. Anyway, so I'll just quickly go through my next three because they've all been mentioned. My number four, I ranked this higher than I think this one was kind of under the radar, and that was Young Love. Graham Russell did write this one, and it wasn't one of their mega hits. I think I can't remember if they've been. It was on Eric's list for sure. I don't remember if it was on Grant's or not. My number three was Making Love Out of Nothing at All from this greatest hits album. Yeah, it's kind of funny to me to think that, this is written by Jim Steinman. I wouldn't put Air Supply and Meatloaf in the same, type of music, and yet when it comes right down to it, it's like, yeah, when I think about the song I Would Do Anything for Love and Making Love Out of Nothing at All, I can see like a lot of similarity. And as you pointed out, that would have been my freshman year at the University of Western Ontario, and I remember that year the song was constantly played, and so was Total Eclipse of the Heart. I mean, those were like, that, and another big song from that particular era was True by Spandau Ballet.
Yeah.
and Human Nature by Michael Jackson. I feel like those four songs were like all that was on the radio in that particular when I was a freshman. And my number two song, it's also been mentioned by all of you. Here I Am, Just When I Thought It Was Over You. This is just one of those. I'm really, whatever. Somebody broke your heart, and there's a group of songs that you can just listen to and like just wallow in. So this is one of them. Being Without You it takes a lot of getting used to by Chicago is another one of those. All at Once by Whitney Houston is another one of those. And then here's another one that really fits the bill well with that grouping of songs. And that's Here With Me by REO Speedwagon, which I think we were all in the REO Speedwagon and said, you know what, I think that one was my favorite. So that's so I'm talking about those songs in a grouping, and they're all kind of similar. And you don't think of Air Supply as being like REO Speedwagon or Chicago, and yet this song falls in the same kind of category as those other songs. So anyway, that's my 4, 3, and 2. Young Love. Number 4, Making Love Out of Nothing at All. Number 3, Here I Am, Just When I Thought I Was Over You. Number 2, over to you, Grant.
All right, here we go. Okay. Now it's really getting tough for me. All right, so my next one, I'm going to go with Even the Nights Are Better. Came out on Now and Forever, 1982. Kind of an upbeat ballad. Reached number 5. Big song.
Oh, yeah.
Written by Terry Skinner, J.L. Wallace, Kenneth Bell. It's a radio-friendly favorite, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. Phenomenal. Everybody should already know this song. I don't, what more can I say about it? My next one, I'm going to go with The One That You Love from the 1981. This was the only number 1 hit in the States. That was 1980, and it was Graham Russell. Now, when I'm looking at these, I always thought that Graham Russell wrote damn near everything, and that's really not the case. He wrote a lot of it, but they did have a lot of outside writers and all these things just all blend together, and they all work well. It's great, but the harmonies, talk about wanting to fall in love. I fell in love during this song. Terrible. But anyway, great track. I like it. I have no problem with it. When I was back in the 80s, I probably would have just went, but man, I think The One That You Love is just killer. All right, my number 2, I'm going to go with Lost in Love from 1980. That was on Lost in Love, breakthrough hit. Graham Russell wrote this in like 15 minutes. Number 3 on the hot US chart. What can I say about it? It's wonderful. But I will mention that it was on an album in 1979, though, called Life Support, and then they re-recorded it for an international release. I've never heard the original version. I think they might have talked about that. Where did I read something? They did a lot of, when we were on this cruise, they did a lot of talking to the audience, and I think they mentioned something about those Australian albums. But this is the version everybody knows is the one that was reissued, recorded. Yeah. So based on that, that's my number 2. And I wonder what my number 1 is. Let's throw it over to Eric and see what his is, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback off of what you just said there, Grant, because "Lost in Love" is my number one.
I can totally
Yeah, and
see
actually,
it.
this actually went number one on U.S. Adult Contemporary, number one in Canada too.
Okay.
Crazy. Love the guitar melody, the acoustic guitar, and the piano in this one. The trade-off vocals between Graham and Russell. It just gives this song a little cool, Greg Raleigh, Steve Perry type of thing going on. Yeah. And then at the end of the song, Russell Hitchcock just belts it out. This may have been the first song I ever heard from these guys when I was a little bitty boy. But I've always loved this one. It's always been my favorite. It's got a little again, rocking ballad, power ballad aspect to it, but yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, that's my number one, Lost in Love.
On the cruise, Graham was talking about it, like he's really not much of a singer, but when I listen to when he trades off, when they go back and forth and trade vocals, I think it's wonderful.
Probably a better comparison instead of Raleigh and Perry, maybe Tony Lewis and John Spinks from Outfield. They got that similar type of dynamic.
Yeah.
Russell's got the higher falsetto, and yeah.
But Graham sounds fine.
Yeah.
He just kept mentioning it during the cruise. Like, I'm going, well, I don't know. Both of those gentlemen, because I really didn't know what to expect on the cruise. I'd never seen them live. Not like Dave and seen him live many times.
Yeah.
And I figured, oh, good Lord. But when I heard him sing, I went, oh my God. If you get a chance to go see them, and I don't know what they do now as far as touring, because on the ship, it's easy. They can just be on there and play. They still sounded great.
Yeah. I just looked up their ages.
You won't be disappointed. Yeah.
Graham is 74, Russell 75. So if they're still doing that, give them props.
Sound great.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Older than I would have guessed, actually. I was kind of thinking based on the age I was when I knew of them. I was thinking, okay, they're not going to be I was actually thinking they would, be a little younger. Anyway, interesting. So when they would have been then about 70 or late 60s, I guess, when I saw them in Akron.
Wow.
Like 5 years ago.
Yeah. All right, Dave. What's your number one?
Oh, because my number one has been mentioned, but the bottom line is this was the song that got me interested. As I said, back in the day, I was, back then I lived in Montreal. We had today it's called the Spirit of Rock Station, but it was a hardcore rock station. And sometimes I would go to another station in Montreal called 95.9 where they played more contemporary music. And I heard this song, and there's not that many songs that you consider catchy and interesting right away, but this one, for whatever reason, it resonated with me, and that is All Out of Love. I think you mentioned all this. Reached number two on Billboard. It's number 92 on VHS 100 Best Love Songs of All Time. I think it's better than that, but anyway, as these rankings are someone's opinion. The single went gold in Canada, USA, and their home Australia. You mentioned I had read that about about him holding the note for 16 seconds. So I wrote down a note. It shows Graham Russell's chops holding these long notes. And again, this is one of those songs that if it's on the radio, I do want to hear it. I want to listen to it. I'll even crank this one.
Yeah.
And it was the song that introduced me to them. And what can I say? It was interesting to me, and I said, oh, okay, it was very different from the type of music that I was into at that particular time. So, All Out of Love, my favorite.
Well, Dave, my number one's All Out of Love too. Not much more to add on that. Was on Lost in Love 1980, reached number 2 on the charts. I think it's this would always be my number one. Maybe Lost in Love may fluctuate, but no, when I hear this is the Big Daddy. This is the greatest track. So much emotional depth to it. There's lush production. You mentioned the production before. It's wonderful. It's sappy, but man, on the right day, yeah, I'll be all right. I could play it.
They were Jedi masters at that
Jedi
songs.
Masters.
They were.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We do want to hear from you down below. Well, we'll be doing this. There'll be a premiere, so I want you to chime in the chat. Air Supply. There's our top 10. There's a lot of duplications, but hey, this is the way we hear stuff. And I'm sure, like I said, our rankings could change on a different day. Really, it's just good to have these guys here and we can talk some music. And who's talking Air Supply? Give them a shout out. They're still going out. They're still doing it. After all these years, they still sound wonderful. So, hey, if you can have a career like that, I'm all the power to you. So good for them.
And I'll tell you, it's a perfect date night concert. It really is.
Perfect date night concert, 100%.
Yeah.
So, Dave, what's going on? What's the status of your channel? Any progress on that?
Yeah, we'll get it restarted. I've got my hat still, the Sound of Soundtrack, so we'll get that thing restarted probably in the next month or so.
All right, Eric's anything coming up? What's happening with you? Anything? Do we have anything coming up? I don't know. We might.
What did we decide? 1990. Yeah, tune in for that, and then I think we'll be ranking the Zombies. Songs from the Zombies.
Yep.
All right.
There's all kinds of stuff in the Warehouse.
Tell her no.
Classic.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I want to thank these gentlemen. I want to thank Eric Hansen and, of course, Dave Lubin. You will see these gentlemen back here in the Warehouse. It's always fun talking music with them. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And, Dave's got a channel it's in hiatus, but it'll be back. So please check him out and subscribe. All right, boys. I don't have anything more to add. I guess we'll see us on the next show, whenever that is.
Oh, I want to give one honorable mention.
Sure, go ahead. Does anybody have any honorables? And then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, well, the obvious ones, I had to leave out the one that you love, Lost in Love. But the opening song on this album, Don't Turn Me Away, that's a fun song. That was the one that it was like, now I'm kind of, because we had so much overlap, I'm kind of sorry I didn't use it. But that's a fun and a little bit more. I mean, certainly not a rockin' song, but it's a little more upbeat than most Air Supply songs.
Yeah, cool. Eric, you got any honorable?
Yeah, I got. Well, you guys mentioned Chances and Young Love. I got The Power of You. Just As I Am. Grant, you had mentioned that. Like I said, that's 10B for me. And then Lonely Is the Night. I got very REO Speedwagon ballad type of sound to that one, but those are some of my honorables there. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Everybody, good night. Thanks, gentlemen. We'll see you.